So what's going on? Today I want to talk about value, right? Uh, and I know I've had a couple videos, a lot of content put it about value, but that's my specialty. I am a real estate analyst outside of being an investor. And I think that, again, as previously mentioned, understanding the value of a property or even an equity in a company, if you don't understand value, you don't understand anything. So what I want to talk about are the types of value when it comes to real estate. And this is important because as you get out there, it doesn't matter whether you're a wholesaler, whether you're a long-term buy and hold investor, whether you're looking to flip a property. When you talk to potential sellers or just people in the business, you have to understand what type of value they're talking about when they give you a number on their property, right? So with that being said, I just want to go over the types of value real fast. All right. So the first one in terms of value, the first would be market value, right? So that's the common value estimate by an appraiser. So if you talk about someone getting an appraisal on their property, a lot of times they're talking about market value. That's when the buyer and seller are like typically motivated. Both parties are well informed. It's what's called an arm's length transaction, right? So this is an actual sale of a property, and this is what's known as the market value of a property. So 90% of the time, this is the value you'll hear about is the market value, but it may not be the only value that you actually hear about. There's other types of value, and you have to understand what those are, right? So another type of value would be what's known as the investment value. And that's what is the value of the property to a particular investor. And this use specific investors, parameters, or assumptions. So let's just say for argument's sake, I have a block. I already own 3 properties on a block, and another property comes up, for sale on that block. The value to me might be different than someone looking to purchase the property to live in, right? So that's, to me as a particular investor, that property may have a different value to me. So when you're out there talking about the value of a property, understand whether you're talking to someone about their specific investment value or just what the overall market value is. Another type of value is called value in use, right? So this is the specific use of the property. So it's the value to so it's similar to investment, but instead of being a particular investor, it's to a particular person. A great example of this would be a property for someone with a disability. If you have a property that has access for a disability, that may have a specific value to them that it wouldn't have to you if that's not what you're looking for. So understand what a value in use is, right? And again, remember disability when you talk about value and use, because that's a great example of what value and use is. The next would be insurable value. You can kind of understand what that is by the name. It's the cost to reproduce or replace. So if you go to get insurance on a property, whether you're getting a landlord policy or this is your primary residence and you go get insurance, this is what they're looking at. The insurable value, the cost to reproduce or replace. That may not be the same as market value, may not be the same as investment value, and also not the value in use, but it's what the value is from an insurable standpoint. So that's the cost of reproduce or replace. The next one will be the assessed value. That's the value for tax purposes. Sometimes that could be the same as market value, but it depends upon which jurisdiction you're in, because when you talk about assessing a property, sometimes it's 100% of value. Sometimes that can be a percentage. Here in Philadelphia, that's 100% of what market value is. But when you talk about doing assessments, the assessment value generally trails what the market value is because they're looking at completed sales of properties to determine their value. So if you're in a market that's increasing, the assessed value sometimes could be lower than what the actual market value is. And also in other jurisdictions, sometimes the assessed value is a percentage of total market value. So if you're having a conversation and someone's talking about value and they're talking about for tax purposes, a lot of times that's the assessed value, which doesn't have to be the same as market value, but it could be. All right. So another value would be what's known as the going concern value. That's an ongoing business operation, right? So when you estimate going concern value, you have to allocate everything that comes with that enterprise. So let's just say a good example of this would be a building that housed the McDonald's or some sort of fast food restaurant that has a specific value as an ongoing business operation, right? So a lot of times with this, you have to not just look at the structure, you look at the land and improvements as you do with any sort of property. But if there's a franchise, Also the fixtures, the furnitures, and all those things that come with that will go into the value. So the going concern value is an ongoing business operation, but that's a specific value. That doesn't have to be market value, doesn't have to be investment value, so on and so forth. But it could have its own type of value. All right. And last but not least is a liquidation value. This is when a property requires an immediate transfer. It would have a liquidation value. So a lot of times if you're trying to get into the wholesale space, these are the kind of values that you want to look for. If someone is looking to get out of town, they have an inherited property, they just need to liquidate the property a lot faster. That would be considered liquidation value. So if I need speed and I don't have time, a lot of times that value will be lower than what the actual market value is, right? So if I have to move, say for a job, I wouldn't look to get, the actual market value for my property because I have to get out. I want to get the liquidation value. In order for me to get out of there, I need immediate transfer. That's a different type of value. So those are your values there. Understand when you're talking real estate or speaking to someone, any professional or anyone within the business, that they could be talking about market value, investment value, value in use, insurable value, assessed value, going concern value, or liquidation value. Sometimes they can be the same, but a lot of times they're completely different. So part of getting in the business of real estate is understanding what the vocabulary is, what the jargon is. I specialize in value. And the reason I specialize in value is because not only was I trained that way, it's because I believe that understanding the value of an asset is more important than anything else. If you don't understand the value, you don't understand anything. You can't be in the business and be successful if you don't know how to value whatever asset that you're actually working with, because that's where you make your money and that's where you grow your wealth, understanding value. So if you have any questions, leave a comment, share this video, please hit like, give us feedback. Let us know other topics that you would like us to go over, but make sure that you understand the value of an asset. And I'll leave my personal contact information, but you can also hit us up at Buy the Hood on any platform. So just want to say thanks for watching. Appreciate your time.